Hang on a minute. That's it. We're live, I think.
Super.
Yeah, I think we're live now. Brilliant. Right. So today we've got Miranda Holaday joining us from your Texas as well, aren't you?
Yep. I'm in North Texas, Gainesville.
North Texas. Brilliant. So thank you again for joining me and taking the time to chat to us about all things liberty and everything else that I've got planned on my question list. So is it okay to start off just by telling us a bit more about yourself and sort of your background with horses?
Oh, where do I even start with that? But it's been a fascinating journey in my life so far that like I never really grew up in a horse family or anything, and it was pretty interesting to be able to grow up with the support that I had when I did just love horses. And that love just kind of grew into a passion. And I think the fact that not being able to have a good horse to start with, or a horse that kind of had some issues, or it's probably not the most ideal thing in the world at all. And I don't recommend this at all, by the way, for anybody. But I mean, it probably helped me grow so much, but it just happens to be my personality that if I find a challenge in something, that I am going to find a way through it, or find a solution, or find how to accomplish something I'm looking for as an end result. And if a horse has a problem, I had to learn to actually say, well, I want to ride this horse, so I'm going to ride this horse. And if I have to fix problems along the way, that's kind of what it ended up being. Is that's where I learned like the fascinating things you can do with them, and that you can teach them, and what the relationship you kind of start developing in that, and the partnership. And that's kind of where my training passion came from a lot. And that's where I started going to other people and meeting more people in the horse community. And then seeing a lot bigger trainers, being able to see like world champions basically is what I would do, where I'm like, well, my horse doesn't do that. So how do I get my horse to look like that or do that? And I think we all do that, where it's like, oh, that's amazing. I don't look like that. So how do I do it? And it's just my drive for sure. So that's what I've been developing my whole life, and met some really, really great people along the way, and had tons of support from so many people, and made some really great friends also. So
I think that's a really interesting perspective, seeing something that inspires you and saying, how do I do that? Rather than, oh, I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everybody should have that attitude where, yeah, anybody can do anything they want to do. They just have to, they have to achieve it. Is all.
Yeah. And
or at least get as far as they can in their own way. Everybody's got their own way of getting there. So.
And ask better questions and ask people. I'm never scared to ask silly questions.
Right. And there, and that's the thing, is like people are scared to ask questions, and there is no wrong answer. And the world we live in, people are judgmental, but you have to kind of learn to muckle through that. And I think people are learning how to these days. But yeah, just ask questions. Like people say, like, I did this wrong, or I'm going to ask a stupid question. And honestly, there isn't a stupid question unless you knew the answer or something and were trying to be stupid about it. But other than that, no. that's just if you really were trying to be that way, and that's all. And nobody really intends that.
So if you're not from a horsey background, then how did you get involved? Did you go to riding school, or how did that happen?
So I did. My mother did take me to some riding lessons, and I learned on some Arabians actually when I was probably like maybe 8, 9. And I didn't really take a lot of lessons, honestly. I would probably go, I think maybe there might have been a 3-month stint that I actually did go every week. So that's probably the longest that I went to actually have that longevity of consistency. And I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I learned balance. I look back now and I just learned how to kind of sit on a horse. But other than that, it was going home and getting a pony that I had given to me, and just kind of doing what I thought I should be doing. And then my mom actually got me a foxtrotter mare. Was my first horse. And she was super, super kind, super safe. And she was the best thing that could happen for me before I got into the next one. So
Can you imagine what life would have been like if we'd have had YouTube when we were younger?
Oh my
It's
gosh.
learn from.
Yes, I did. Now, and this is the thing, like my parents really supported me a lot in things that I did, whether it was like it wasn't close contact, but it was my mother did buy me the so there wasn't a lot of people out, and nowadays there's so many people has content out there.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case when I was younger. So the main thing that my mother got me was a subscription to, like, John Lyons had the Perfect Horse, like, magazine kind of thing. And that's not what I had, was the magazine. I'd read articles and stuff. And then Clinton Anderson's kind of someone I followed. I would rent his DVDs from the library.
Oh, amazing.
That was kind of my, that was my capabilities of getting content, and then just going places and trying to get out there and get as far as I could. Yeah.
Brilliant. So tell us what's going on that picture then that I put on the front of the live stream. I want to know what's happening in that picture. It looks amazing.
It does. I've had I put that one up because I got a lot of people ask about it, right? So it's an interesting picture. That was at a Mustang makeover, and I believe that was 2012, I think. And the horse's name was Finnegan. He was a client's horse. She wanted to get a Mustang and have me train it and do the competition, and then she got it for her husband in the end. And so she picked him out. And he's really he was a really cool horse. If I had more time, would be amazing. But you say that with every one of them because it's only 100 days. So, I mean,
amazes me.
We're always going to say that, right?
Yeah.
And then with that one, what I really wanted to do was, everybody, like, leading up to this year had started. It was kind of this thing where the winners started getting a cow out, working it, roping it, tying it down. And I'm kind of like, well, I mean, I could do that, but I don't want to be like everybody else. But I want to do something with a cow because I do enjoy cow working, and I do a lot of cattle kind of stock work and things. So I do want to show that. And this horse was talented in that aspect. So I thought, I'm going to do something different. And what could I do? And I used to cowboy mounted shoot. So I got him used to the guns and everything like that. And I taught him how to work a rope, so that if he was my ranch horse, that I could rope a cow, I could go down the rope, doctor him, he could work the rope, because that was something people liked for, like, freestyle stuff. And what I did was I roped the cow, and then I jump off, and with my guns, I actually would shoot my guns and chase the cow around in a circle around my horse. And then I would swap directions and go the other way and then chase him back the other direction. So my horse had to do like a full 360 turn both ways, with this cow lunging around him while he's holding the cow, and I'm chasing him, shooting my guns. So I thought it'd be pretty comical and funny, and it's good. It was good. I got a lot of people really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'll bet. I've literally no concept how you train for that. I mean, the whole 100-day thing just baffles me. I mean, I know we're going a bit off piste, but just tell us briefly what the Mustang Makeover is, because in the UK, people might not be aware of that. And how would you accomplish so much in 100 days?
Yeah. And it's, the horse makes a difference. There's some horses that are just a little harder, take a little longer. I mean, we all know that probably just in the horse industry in general. But yeah, it's really it's a lot of work. You have to spend a lot of time with the horses, and some more than others, and find out those short sessions. Really, it's pretty accomplishable. If I had to kind of explain it too, if you had that horse and you got it, and this isn't like probably the best analogy, but it's a really good one to give a concept to, that it's not going to be perfect, but if you had a horse and you got it 1% better every day, it'd take you 100 days to be at 100%.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the outlook you can look at it as.
So people in the UK might not be aware that the Mustang Makeover, it is literally an untouched horse, isn't it? Like, yeah. But not untouched in the sense that our unhandled horses might be. This is like literally never seen a human being before.
Right. And they have, like, they've been through the shoots and things like that. Sometimes those things don't help because they kind of get habits where they're trying to evade. And, the BLM, the guys that are working there, they're not there to train the horses. They're there to take care of them and make sure they get the care they need and try to get them out of there as fast as they can, so they're not, staying in the chute longer or getting more stress than they need to be. So that's kind of where they just get the job done, and then they push them around the pens and things like that. So they see people, they've learned to interact, but they're still they have height restrictions on the fences for a reason, because they absolutely will run through a fence because they just don't know boundaries yet. They don't know that solid boundary. I haven't had it long enough to be able to have somebody rely on that. So, and here people take the horse and they turn it out in a field and it runs through the next barbed wire fence that's a mile away. It's like, well, we all knew that was going to happen because it's exactly what happens.
Yeah. Oh,
so that's why we need 6 foot, like solid fences.
Gosh. So how long would you typically spend with one of them every day then?
Spending time with them, even just feeding them, trying to get your hands on them where they just feel like you're not a threat, is huge. So you could I know people that spend all day, and the youth is a good example. So you see the youth competitions, and if you have seen those freestyles and what the kids do with those things, it's amazing. And those horses are so gentle because the kids get them so quiet and so okay with everything, because literally most of the time, if it's during the summertime, they're out of school. And what else do they have to do, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where you do see, like, some people have a day job, so they can only spend evenings with it. But like, I usually try to get a session in a day. Sometimes I try to get 2, and then as much, like, just put them in an area where you can kind of walk by them, pet them.
Yeah.
See them, interact around them. They can kind of see different things and learn that trust and just situations in general.
Amazing. Brilliant. So let's go back to Liberty then. Tell me how you got involved with that while I have a sip of my tea. My massive.
I love this. So the Liberty is actually, it's been really amazing. It's been an aspect that, starting with the Liberty, has really developed a lot of, even my riding. It's really developed a lot of the horsemanship in general. I use the Liberty training for, like, colts I'm starting and things like that a lot these days, just because it's the aspect of doing as little as you need to get the results and teaching the horse things. And I think we just get in there sometimes and just try to make it happen too much physically. So the Liberty stuff is really great. I started Liberty stuff. I met Dan James, actually. So this is a little while back. I think it was maybe 2014 or 15, possibly, that I was at an expo in Tennessee, and I was doing a colt starting competition. Actually, it was one of the first It was the first competition they had, and it's the Southern Equine Expo, is what it's called. It was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I did some clinics also at that expo. And Dan was one of the judges for this colt starting competition. And he did performances, and he also did clinics at that expo. So the last day, it started snowing here and everywhere. So I was married at that point. So me and my husband were there. Dan was there. And we all 3 basically didn't have a big hurry. He had another expo to be to, but it was in a couple days. He didn't really need to have to leave. We weren't going to drive home because we probably weren't going to make it with the snow and the ice that they had, like, called for. So we asked if we could stay another, day or night or whatever it was, till, like, some of the snow cleared out. And it ended up being, like, one of the most fun weekends I've had. I can't remember in how long, because what we did is, like, with Dan being there and us being there, we kind of made friends and got to know each other really well. And then what really came about that was we would get our horses out and we played polo. So we're in the main arena, and we had this whole coliseum to ourselves, basically. So for that 2 days or whatever, we basically, like, swapped out. I got to get on his ridden horse and work the Liberty team and just get to experience some of that stuff, and reared Swampy and got some fun pictures, and we swapped horses and we just had a good, horseman fun time, really. So it was just a lot of fun. And then I hosted a Liberty clinic for Dan in Texas the next spring or springish, as fall. So it was the next fall I ended up hosting a Liberty clinic for him. And that's kind of where the Liberty clinic started in Texas.
Right.
And then the following year we did a second one, and that was the one that we started at Katie and Elliot's place at Versatile Horsemanship.
Right.
And they kind of got started taking that over from there. So that was perfect.
And then they started the club. It sounds like heaven being snowed in with Dan James and a load of horses just playing ponies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. So we were talking just before we went live and saying how Liberty is more of a discipline actually in the US than, it's not really a thing here in the UK. So can you tell us a bit more about that? About how it's sort of discipline in its own right.
Absolutely. The Liberty is really just become a discipline that it really is. It's an aspect of body control and being able to just like show what you can really do with your horse, just like you would. So I can do a reining pattern, or I can go do the cow horse stuff, or I can go do the trail, or whatever aspect it really comes to. Is every competition and discipline comes down to, I have a certain amount of body control with my horse. I have a certain amount of maneuvers. I'm going to go show these things, show these aspects. And the Liberty is a whole new ball game where I think we can really expound on that, even because we have so many different disciplines in the riding. Mm-hmm. Now we have the Liberty, and that's almost like the starting point of a discipline like branch, right? Yeah. So I think it's going to be amazing, because really what it comes down to is for like really good Liberty where you can advance on everything, and the sky is really the limit when it comes to knowing where you're at to start with and building to that point in the end that you don't get stuck somewhere or you don't run into roadblocks because your training has kind of like meshed too much or too close that the horse can't figure cues out differently, that you can advance on that body control. You want to get every foot controlled like you would be riding, every hip control, shoulder control. You want to be able to like bend the rib, things like that. Like I do half passes with my horse, so I want to make sure it's not a leg yield. Yeah. It's totally different. And I can be able, you can get haunches in, shoulders in, any of that stuff. So it's pretty amazing what you can do with this stuff whenever you get advanced.
Brilliant. I look forward to being able to experience that one day. I'm going to ask a question. How do I do that? Not how do I do that? No, I can't do that.
And it is like, it's amazing that once you get the idea and the concept of it, it's so much easier and way, way, way more fun than I think. People think it's too hard to accomplish. It's not. It's the matter of getting started. And that's where like the Liberty clinics help so much, because you see people go through issues, you get started, you keep going with it, and then you're like, oh, well, it's there. So it's so easy. It's so easy to do at that point.
So that brings me on to my next question then. What makes a good Liberty trainer?
Really, like with the Liberty training and stuff, is it's kind of hard to probably pick that, because you don't know until, I would like to see some of the horses they've developed and started and continued with and advanced with.
I meant what makes you? What makes you a good Liberty trainer? So what makes you good at doing Liberty? That's what I meant.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as like good at doing Liberty, just being able to advance and really show that body control. So if you can say, and this is kind of what I do like in demos and stuff like that, which I'm going to have videos out soon. So bear with me. It's just been a really long, crazy year that I haven't been able to get those videos out, but I am going to have videos coming out this winter, and I do live demos. And what I do in those is I show like, here's my cue for like bringing the haunches over, or bringing the shoulders over, or holding this placement here, bending at the rib, or, taking, any kind of gait departure or anything like that, making a circle bigger, making a circle smaller. So I kind of just really like walk through and talk about all those things, making a turn, starting to go into shaping behaviors and stuff. So I also add a lot of tricks and things to my deal, which some of them are maneuvers just as much. So there could be tricks, there could be maneuvers, and I can develop those things, like if I want to do a smile at a distance, I can have my horse at a stop cue at the other side of the round pen. I can do mirror imaging at a distance and then like cue for a certain thing, because if you think ahead on things, you want to say, well, I have this cue. I want to be able to have my horse stand over there and then cue another thing and not get confused. So it's just being able to develop through that and have clear cues, have that clear training communication that you just look at the horse, you ask them for something because they know what that is. It's kind of like husband and wife. You look at them, you don't really have to say much, and your posture or your thoughts kind of come out a little bit in the end. And it's pretty amazing what you can really accomplish with that. But just being able to not have other behaviors happen that you didn't cue for, that's kind of huge, because there's no confusion from the horse really at that point. And I think that's huge, is saying, is the horse confused at points, or is everything very clear communication? And I think to see that is a big trigger to say whether somebody's is really good at it or not.
I've been reading a book at the minute called Don't Shoot the Dog by Karen Pryor. I don't know if you've heard of her.
I haven't heard of that one, but I'll have to look it up.
It really explains all the theories behind training quite nicely. Obviously, it's all learning theory about negative and positive reinforcement, and the quadrants and things, and shaping behaviour and cues and that kind of thing. Which I haven't found many horse sort of things that explain it in quite the same way. So yeah, I just need to figure out how to play it to horses now. So.
In I would say, like, I do a lot of reading and audiobooks and things like that. Mostly self-help, but along the way, like, one of the biggest developments I have is any kind of dog training, and even a lot of psychology stuff is huge, because all that applies to the horse as well. There's a lot of psychology that goes into how we interact with the horses, is the same as a relationship with another person.
Yeah.
And it can be found, that content can be found in a lot of different places, and not just like horse stuff. So it's pretty amazing.
So what advice would you give to somebody just starting out then, who might be listening to this thinking it all sounds like a bit of a mystery?
Really, honestly, and this is where I know Dan's been to France before, but just having like somebody that's done successful Liberty training clinics and things like that, and been successful in the industry as far as really proven to take people somewhere. Because if you want to spend your money, you want to make sure that it's gonna, move forward quite a bit, especially going to another country. I go to Germany and Africa, other than this year, because nobody travels this year. Yeah. So whenever I do that, that's huge, because it's really going back to a community and developing that community of horse people in a way that they can keep going when you leave. Because if, I'm only there for a week to 3 weeks. I've been there for 3 months before, but it was mostly like training horses, not just 3 months at clinics. So somebody comes to a clinic for 4 or 5 days, and they need to be able to go on with that. So being able to have like content helps, being able to ask questions helps, being able to have that clear idea of where you're going when you start, and know that you're going to get it by the end of that time helps a ton. Because, when somebody leaves the country that doesn't have, that capability to come over and just help you fix something, it's hard, because it's nice to be able just to have somebody do that, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have anybody in your area, that's the hard part.
I think that's the beauty of the Liberty clubs as well, because we've just started the first Liberty club in the UK, and we have Kim that teachers for us who trained with Dan, so that's quite nice. And just feeling like we can sort of chat to all you guys and sort of get your wisdom, and we want to start building a community of people that are interested at home that can support each other and stuff. So I feel like we're just teeny weeny at the minute, but hopefully the interest will grow, and
right,
and we'll get more enthusiastic about it, and more people, and all support each other. So that's the plan anyway.
Right. That's awesome. And that's perfect. And that's exactly where it all starts. And, opportunities arise in places we don't even see them come from. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great. I'm super excited for you guys, and I want to follow everybody and kind of see how the club grows and be able to do that. But yeah, I think, like, I know Dan has a lot of content online, at least to get started, about starting the Liberty Horse and things like that, and continuing. So those things help, at least, to play with and learn the cues. And
exactly.
sometimes the people learning it is the horse, and then you put the horse and the person together a lot of times, and it just clicks. So
yeah, that's it. All I ever do is watch training videos. My husband never sees me. Oh dear. Right. So my next question then, these are onto my bigger, sort of more philosophical questions. So how do you deal with frustration when you think that things aren't going to plan?
Well, I don't really, over the years, because it's a development in general, that you just kind of learn it doesn't really, there's no point in time that if you get frustrated, it doesn't help to get emotional or react emotionally. So it's kind of one of those things. I think you have to train yourself to not react to things emotionally, because they're not going to help. And I've been humbled so many times by that it's like, okay, that's confirmation. I probably knew that was going to happen and just didn't listen to myself. But with frustration or anything like that, it really comes down to just taking a break if you have to, coming back, looking at the situation, because sometimes some horses throw different things at you that you don't expect, or you're like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. So it's just looking at it and with an eye of how do I work through this or shape this in a way that it's going to be productive. And I think people get to the point of it's not working, so I have to make it happen. I have to really go to that stage where people almost get in the blame game. And it's an easy habit to fall in, because now it's the horse's fault it's not working right. But even though if the horse isn't willing to really work with you, it doesn't mean it's the horse's fault. They're just trying to find the most comfort, which is exactly how you're training them in the first place. So you can use that as much as you want. You just have to set the situation up properly.
I always find that the frustration's more with me rather than with the horse. I'm always frustrated with myself. Like, why did I do that? Or why didn't I do that? Or why don't I know the answer? Why can't I figure this out?
Right. Well, okay. So I have a good, maybe this will help a lot, because I can pick 2 times in my life that for certain, I literally, it was 2 weeks. Usually it's 2 weeks. I will say that right now, 2 weeks. That there are times where I learn something. I'm like, I'm going along pretty good. I've got this down. I know exactly what I'm doing. And then I learn something new, and I'm like, I'm going to advance on this, and I'm really going to study this, and I'm going to do this with these horses. And like, I'll have a string of colts or something I'm working on, and I'm just kind of getting stuck. And it's the frustration of like, why can't I get this physically to, like, you can't get your body to do something right or react a certain way, or just like, you can't get things to fall into place because you just can't get it done. And it really comes down to like, I am not capable of getting that to happen. But what it comes down to is like, what I've done is I keep trying it. After about a week, you're kind of like at that point of saying, I don't even know why I'm doing horses. I should quit this, and I'm going to go look for a day job, because I'm a professional right now, because I can't get this to work. And at that 2-week point, you look back, and it's crazy because 2 weeks, and you look back from, I'm going to quit because this is dumb and I suck at this, to this is so easy. I don't know why I had a problem.
Yeah.
And it really gets to that point. I think if you focus hard enough on trying to get through, or trying, like, figure out how to get those points. And a lot of times for me, it came down to don't try so hard.
Yeah.
Because the harder you try, the more like you change your body, or you kind of ball yourself up, or it affects other things. And it was always with like trying to get in a position of some kind you didn't get out, move, or habit you had to break, because these are the things we're fixing with our horses, are breaking habits we don't want them to continue to do, because every living being is very habitual. And that's exactly where we have to say, is this a good versus a bad habit I'm getting into?
Yeah.
And then breaking this is extremely hard.
Yeah.
So as we know, like this horse, this habit's going to take so long, it goes in us. So it's a little bit the fix that you look at, and you look back and you think, wow, I have come so far. But you have to look at the beginning to say, yeah, I've definitely come extremely far. So
Yeah.
you have to look back on those things and take a view from where you're at back to where you started, and just know how far you've come to know that you're making headway.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody kind of has said the same thing in answer to that question. Look at the bigger picture. When you get stuck in the day to day, you don't notice the improvements.
That's
And you
100%.
do try, and it's so hard to not try too hard.
Yep, it's 100% right. Yep. Because you think, like, going back to the Mustang makeover, that's exactly how you have to look at it. Is like, you know, you go into it and you're 20 days into it. Am I 20% farther than I was? Well, I'm riding the horse outside over trail obstacles. Of course, I'm more than 20% ahead. So
Yeah.
I don't know what my problem is. Why am I not happy with that? So it's kind of like a selfish thing. We have to look at ourselves and say, wow, you're rude. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, funny. So when I was looking at your Instagram, one of the slogans on the picture, the confidence is key. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody will. So there's two parts to this question. What is the key to having confidence with the horses? And what is the key to believing in yourself?
That's a good one. And I think, like, the key for confidence is like the description and the idea of confidence is certainty. So if you're not confident in something, you're not certain about it. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to being certain about something, it really comes a lot with just try it. You don't know if you're going to be good at it until you try it. Because there's so many people that, like, one of the biggest things that I do on a daily basis is tell people you're better than you are, because it's true. And there's so many people that don't do something that I know they can do it, but they don't do it because they're not confident in themselves. And sometimes if it's not dangerous, then just try it. Or if it's dangerous, then find a not dangerous way to try it or work through something like that, because there's different ways to go about things. And you never know till you try. And once you start developing those habits into being good at that, you amaze yourself. People will amaze themselves at how good they are compared to how they think they are. And I have some really close friends that I've seen them excel so much in the recent, like this year, because they finally found their confidence because they just went and did it. And it's not because they're any better than they were before. They just actually used their talents because they found the confidence in themselves. So I really encourage people just to try. That's all you got to do.
Brilliant.
You'll know.
And I suppose that's kind of answered the second question about how to believe in yourself as well. Just to try it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You'll find your holes, and you'll know how to work on them. And without doing that, you won't find your holes. You won't know how to work on it, and you'll be lost whenever, you've got to show your stuff. If you want to show your stuff, you've got to practice it at home. Mm-hmm. Practice it in different places. Start somewhere.
Yep. So, who've been your biggest role models and why?
Ooh, role models. I've got so many. I'm a devout Christian, so, like, honestly, there's only I don't know if I even should even say this, like, on a public chat, but, like, the only God and the only one for me that I felt in so many situations when it comes down.
I'm losing you.
Are you still here?
Oh, try again. You're back. Try again.
Perfect. Okay. So, really, when it comes down to it, like, God's my number one supporter as far as that go. I will say that. And, like, when I'm lost the most, that's where I find a lot of my comfort and strength. But when it comes to people, Dan James is probably one of my biggest role models in, like, the horse industry and just in general in life. He's got such a great outlook. He's got, You know, he loves others so much that it's just, he's just got a lot of power in everything, as far as just, he's such a good person, and I really enjoy his friendship and the things that he's taught me, and just being like on his farm or being around him whenever he's teaching people. I always get to learn how to do better at teaching, how to do, you know, like, oh, that's really cool, that's a really neat position, I can really pick up on things, and it's really nice to go back and be able to watch somebody and learn those things, because I'm used to teaching it, but we all as teachers need to go back and learn, honestly, constantly along the way. So he's probably one of my biggest ones in the horse industry and just overall. And I mean, I've got so many friends that I look to for different things. My close friends are all role models for me on a personal basis, because we support each other, and it really comes down to the people that you put yourself around always really come into an aspect of shaping you as a person. So the people that you put yourself around really shapes you. Katie and Elliot are huge. They've been huge supporters. So really, like, role models for me are people that have supported me, I guess, a ton, because they're just great people in general, and they've gone out of their way. They've taken their time. I learn from them, because people that I enjoy being around, I tend to look at their life and say, like, well, what are you doing? Because I want to be like that. And with the horses, I mean, you can learn something from everybody, and it just comes down to some, yeah, great horsemen give so many different things, not just horse industry or horse related type of things, but
that's your approach again, asking questions.
Yeah.
What are they doing? How can I be like that?
I'm off subject a little bit, because there's a big aspect of thought processes in a question. So.
No, that's amazing. So to wrap up then, what are your goals for 2021?
Ooh, 2021, I'm hoping to travel a little bit, not as much as I used to. I used to travel a lot, but with the COVID still going on, I really just am excited to get a schedule down. Would be amazing. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
That would be great, because I do like structure and a plan. That would be cool. But I really do have a lot of, I've been planning on trying to get a lot of stuff out this year, but I have a lot of things that just keep kind of happening. And I think there can't be anything else that can happen. So I'm assuming I can continue my plan in a couple weeks, where I'll start having more content and videos. I'm going to really develop my brand next year, so everybody should see a lot more of me. I'm going to have a store on my website moved over. I'm transferring websites and getting all that stuff built. And just like, for instance, I don't have that finished because I have a girl that I've hired that's struggling with the fires. She had fires in Colorado, kind of like shut her down a lot, because she's had to be there trying to work with their house, and she's going to come back to Texas soon. And she's just been a blessing to me to get how far I am with that. And I'm actually helping her with her Liberty stuff in trade. So I'm keeping that
Brilliant.
All that going, and she's at my pace because she has stuff going on. Like, that's fine. I just happened last week, so I'm shut down this week too. So I have to get to that until next week. And it's been that kind of year, I think, for everybody. It's been interesting.
It's been a football year.
Next year I'll have content. I'm going to try to, like, I really want to teach people so much next year and show them what they can do with the Liberty. That's going to be a big aspect for sure.
Brilliant.
So where coming along really cool.
Where can people find you if they want to find out more then?
Really, I've got my website is mirandahorsemanship.com, and Instagram. I'm on Instagram a little bit. I will have more social media coming out. That's another one of those. I'll be on social media all the time, and I'll have my website finished. But it's Miranda Horsemanship pretty much across the board. Facebook, Instagram. I don't have a Twitter account. Maybe in the future, but yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, I'm excited. And all my contact information is on the website, so it makes it easy.
Well, fingers crossed 2021 is going to be the year that we all smash it.
Yep, I 100% agree with that.
And thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom and inspiration with us.
Yeah.
And, yeah, hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so. Maybe I'll be traveling through there. Yeah, if anybody even comes and visits, just give me a shout and come to the farm and even see, some pieces of the Liberty even, just to visit. That'd be great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thanks again. And Merry Christmas. It'll be that time soon, won't it?
Yeah. Ooh, it's almost over. So it's,
yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.